I can. It seemed like a process that we didn't really have a part of.
Well, we did. You weren't on the board yet, though. This was done
really quickly.
This was done very quickly. Yeah, because we had to spend the money and get everybody signed up. But I think that we should all have a part in everything that we do, whether that's selecting the musicians or the kinds of genre or where the concerts are going to be located. I think I'd like to see the concerts at a different venue every week. You know, the whole idea of having the district is to get people to move around and experience all the different parts of the district. So we could do like a Woodstock festival at Langwater, 1 week, move it around a little.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. No.
No, just one of the things with that is weather related.
Yeah.
If it's going to rain and you're at the NRT or you're at Langwater and we don't want to spend $2,500 for a tent, is there electricity? There's a lot of stuff that goes into it with the musicians, the electricity to have enough cords.
I was just thinking from the standpoint of like, it's hard enough to get people to come out and remember drill to the Wednesday night. And then if you're changing locations each week, I mean, I feel like we're just starting to hit our stride with attendance. And now you're going to be like, oh no, this week it's over here. No, next week it's over here. I think that just.
I think it's hard for the musicians, weather-wise and setup-wise.
What if we wanted to do a separate event, like where we did include the district, and we were able to include more musical, like similar to like a Porch Fest type of thing, but using the district like locations for something like that, like a 1 day,
like you walk around to hear different.
Yeah. You walk around to each, or you could drive to each of the different locations within the district.
Yeah.
And you have like musical acts.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the importance of, highlighting the different parts of the district. I just think there's probably a different way to do it. That's like, I don't necessarily think these, 2-hour concerts are the way to do it. I think there must be like,
I agree with you.
Going back to like, remember when we were doing those, the sculpture thing, like having a walking tour of the sculptures that brings you around to each of the different locations. Like that's perfect. Something along those lines.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's hard to get people to know where to go every week necessarily, if we're doing like a concert series, but perhaps we could do like an introduction to the concert series where it's a 1 day event.
Or it could be a fall festival with Langwater or NRT. And, Langwater has that building now. NRT has the barn. We're not going to solve it tonight, but these are just, we can talk about, the whole point, I think, of what Marky was trying to say is, can we talk more about this and flesh this out a little bit and not be under such pressure like we were last time? And I absolutely think that we should be doing that for everything. So,
and guys, I think the talent was excellent. I mean, it's like I think all those bands were great. I think it's more being part of that process, and maybe someone else would think of a different, like I just heard about this Chicago tribute band who is 10 pieces big and pretty good outdoor show. It's like just being able to recommend something like that, or other bands that we've had on the Easton Live series that have been pretty popular or good. Just trying to be a little bit more inclusive into and I understand that it was thrown together quick. But
the only thing about that, it might have been thrown together quick, but Jack Colombo worked on that for months. He was always Carolyn's contact. He got the bands, he put it together, so that he didn't throw together.
Right.
But our input into it was a carryover from what Carolyn had already worked on. So this group of people didn't really participate in it that much. So, all right.
I mean,
Dottie.
Jesse, we also have to be
Dottie,
mindful
I
of
haven't spoken
the
yet.
budget.
Can I have
Hold on a second. I can't hear who's talking.
Oh, Priscilla.
Priscilla? Okay, go
Okay.
ahead.
In terms of another venue, possibly we could integrate a program at the NRP Harvest Festival. If we want another location, and we would expose ourselves to a greater audience, a greater community at the same time.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, because people come from all over, Easton as well as other surrounding towns.
Okay. Suzanne, did you want to say something?
Yeah, just to Mark's point though, we also have we have a limited budget for this. I would love a Chicago tribute band. 10 people though, that probably requires a little bit more money than 2 people. So just we've got to keep that in mind too.
I understand, and I think part of knowing what the parameters are too would be part of that inclusion in these events. You know,
Yeah.
not
We'll have
all
to
of
look
them,
at the budget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Knowing that would help.
You're right about that.
Phyllis, did you have something you wanted to add?
Well, I know I said at last meeting that I would love to see us explore exposing other locations within the district. I think the hall is a great location. I think that we need to be respectful of the fact that we are a cultural district, that we need to highlight other locations as well. So I think it's a bigger discussion, but it's something that we should look into.
Yeah, and I think if we're looking at this as just this one venue, this one concert series, that's not going to be representative of all the work that we do for the whole year. So when we, and that's something that I have to talk about a little bit later, but Suzanne?
Just one other point that we had talked about previously is coordination with the library, and if there can be some sort of synergy. If we each do a different kind of music, or if we get them to be, if we just are more conjoined and have a plan together for how we're going to present summer music, would be a good idea.
And the Shoveltown Brewery, because they have their own music events as well. So, I think once we get once we get moving and connected more with them, that was one of the things that I think we talked about the last time, but I want to really kind of flesh out a little bit more, is to have a convening with all the stakeholders in the district to kind of, I bet you anything the farmer's daughter doesn't even remember anything about the cultural district, or, Langwater certainly doesn't. I know that Catherine Honey, who is in the art gallery, has been trying to reach Langwater to talk about connecting with the gallery and showing artwork there, and they're not even being responsive. The library, I think we should pick a date in October or early November and figure out what we want that to look like, and ask everybody to go to it so we can reintroduce ourselves, talk about some of the things that we want to do this year, and ask them, what's the best way to reach you? Is it, every other month that we send out kind of a one-page update on the things we're doing, or is it to send you a link to our meeting minutes, or do you want to come to our meetings, or how can we communicate with each other better and see, how we can strategize a little bit, because we want to know what they're doing too.
Well, and I also think that we could, I'm sure they're planning their calendars now like we are for next year. So if we reached out to, the library and the Quinset House and Langwater and all of that, and said, what do you have scheduled for next year? We should be that organization that can also help them highlight it and draw traffic, not just host things and sponsor ourselves, but also be kind of the resource for people to go to Easton's Cultural District and find out what's happening in our region, right?
Well, that is the role of the cultural district, to be the convener.
Exactly.
Okay, so does anybody have any ideas on a date or a venue, or a day of the week, a day or night or weekend, or?
No weekends.
All right.
Yeah, weekends can make it happen.
Do you think it makes sense to put together a list of who everybody is in the contacts and do like a doodle poll or something to see, put out some dates, times, and see what kind of interest we get back from people? Although I'm not sure if people will answer that or if we need to like pick the phone up or go down in person and tell them, or.
Probably has to be a face-to-face, I would imagine. Like if you're gonna reacquaint yourself, you have to put in some FaceTime, I think that's the best way to do it. I don't know.
So what if I put together a list of all of the stakeholders and the contact names that I know, and we split them up and people talk to them and find out from them, reintroduce the cultural district. We can put together a one-pager that just kind of gives our mission and what we do, and ask them, do they want to meet? Do they want to be a part of this? If not, we'll kick them out of the district. No. And how is the best way to communicate with them?
Right.
That sound like a plan?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. All right. The other thing I have on here for events is September 30th for the Lions Club. They're having Rocka Blues with Beatles, Rolling Stones, Stevie Ray Vaughan at the Hall on Foundry. And
The other hall.
The other hall, the Hall on Foundry. And the other one is October 28th, which is Token Nickel and Token Nickel and In Transition. Also, we'll call it the KFC because that's how everyone knows it, on October 28th. So those 2 dates. So just as a point of information, and we can share that on our social media as well. Anyone have any comments or questions on that?
Do you want me to look into like lanyards and maybe some inexpensive business cards? So if we're networking and doing B2B, that we can hand out cards or something like that?
I guess how do people feel? Definitely for lanyards, but I feel like I have business cards for so many things and I never use business cards. Anybody feel differently, or anybody want business cards, or you don't want any?
No,
I mean, we could print up a handful of them on the printer, but to go buy like 500 business cards for everybody, I know I wouldn't use
No, I'm
them.
saying like one business card representing the cultural district and our Facebook page or something that if you're networking, you can hand out that card. Put your name on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
Just something to.
No, that's a good idea.
Yeah. All right, Phyllis. Thank you for volunteering.
Okay.
The next thing coming up after that is the holiday festival for the Lions Club. So I don't know if Joan or Fred, you've heard anything from the Lions Club about that, but at our last meeting last Wednesday, Michelle Durance volunteered to be the person at the Lions in charge of the event. So you may hear.
I know that name. Who is that, Dottie?
She's chair of the school committee.
Okay, that's why I know the name. Okay.
You've met her before. She's got long blonde hair.
Yeah, I know who she is. Yeah, we haven't heard anything from the Lions, so I'm assuming they want that Saturday.
I made a note to myself. It's usually the first weekend in December, which would be the 3rd.
Second.
Is that the 2nd?
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Saturday is the 2nd. So is it the 3rd? Okay. I don't know. I'm off a day. But yeah, the Saturday and Sunday would be available, but we haven't heard from anyone.
Saturday is the 3rd, and I think the Lions are still currently not sure of what's happening yet. So
okay,
to be determined.
Fred, is Fred there? We still have.
Fred's here.
We still have our concert with the
Star to be named later. What date is that?
Discuss that yet publicly.
I know, I didn't say that, I didn't name the person, but we do have an
An event.
event at the hall.
Yeah, we do.
And so
On the
could you
second.
tell us when it is? The second, thank you.
You can't tell us you can't say what it is.
Whatever the Friday is, no.
Second.
December
Right.
2nd.
Right. Thank you.
I can reach out to Michelle and guide her in your direction, Joan, if
Okay,
you know,
perfect.
if she needs that. All right, so let me see. So I think one of the things that's important that we do is talk about a calendar of events for the next year, what we plan on doing. And I started to put down some notes, and also, so there's like three things that I'll kind of blurt out all at the same time that are connected. So I found out last week that we were supposed to file an annual report with Mass Cultural Council, and they sent me an email saying, you know, this is your third notice, you need to do this or you're not going to get any more grants. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I've never seen this before. They don't know where they were sending it, but it wasn't coming to me. So I filled out that annual report, and we only had one event this year. And that was technically, even though it was in the summer, it was funded in June. So I put that information in, but that's the one where they want to know like how many people attended, you know, everything about your event. And these reports are set up for any organizational. So even ones that aren't a municipality, I had to put in how much money we brought in, how much money we spent. So anyway, I got that done. Once they put me on their correct list, I also got an email that they meet once a month, I think it is. So they met this Thursday at 11:30, and it's all the cultural districts in the state that want to join into it. So I joined it. I found out like hours before it happened, and it was really good. A lot of places had a lot of really good ideas. They were sharing things that they were struggling with. A lot of cultural districts completely fell apart during COVID. All their volunteers quit. They talked about some of the things they worked on. Some of them were really cool. The Berkshires have a art week, and I can put a link to that to everybody. So I think when they do the next one, I'm going to let everybody know when it is. And if anybody wants to join to listen, I think it gives a good feel for what cultural districts are, what they do, what their goals are and stuff. So when they asked for my comment, I told them the things that we were doing. And I said they said they wanted to know what was something that was a priority. And I said, for me, I would like to have a priority that we draft an arts master plan with a sustainability piece of it, because, you know, I think we learned kind of the hard way with Carolyn, and Carolyn and I were actually working on this beforehand, talking about how to have a sustainability piece, because when somebody goes, whether it was unfortunate, you know, with a death, or whether somebody quits or somebody moves or whatever, it's really hard to pick up all the pieces if you didn't have a strategy or a plan or lists or anything like that. So all of a sudden she was saying that's a great thing, and everybody was kind of on the bandwagon with that. I did that on purpose because the next lead up is they offer a $7,500 grant every year, and we use that for the Legacy Festival. This year they're raising it to $15,000.
Wow.
So I think that the more we get to know them and the more FaceTime we have with them, and the whole point of what I meant when I was talking about that is they were repeating back what I said afterwards. So there was definitely a connection there. And that's what Carolyn was really good at. Carolyn went to all those things. I went to a lot of them with her, but everybody knew her all over the state. And they all came to her for advice on, you know, we're trying to do this. How do you recommend it? So I think that we should still continue to be a leader in cultural districts across Massachusetts. And so anyway, I know it's during the day and everybody's busy, but I'll just send everybody the information. Whoever can make it can make it. It's nothing mandatory, but I think it's a good idea. The other thing is they just came out with a grant, and it's an organizational grant that cultural organizations can apply for. The grant's due next week, and it's between $5,000 and $75,000. And what you do is you put in your information, you talk about what you do, and then they decide how much they give you. So it's not like
75,000 or 7,500?
1,000.
Oh, wow.
So I talked about in that grant application, the first thing you asked us to do was to create a management team, and we created a management team. The second thing you asked us to do was to create somebody to manage the district. And we've just, agreed that that's the right idea. The third thing that you wanted us to do was to come up with a master plan to move forward, and we'll be working on that. So I'm hoping that they'll give us a lot of money towards those initiatives, because they're the initiatives that they said that they wanted. But on the call that they had to talk about it, there were 600 organizations on there. And so they're going to be splitting up the money. So that's why they're not saying like apply for a certain amount. Because usually when you have a grant, you say how much money you want to apply for. They're going to take the money and try to divvy it up across the region. So, equity is a big issue right now. I think that probably cultural organizations that are, run by people of color, by women, by certain artists, they may get more money, but we'll see how we do. And I put together the pieces of that to submit for next week with Stephanie, the town planner. So that, fingers crossed. I think there's a lot of good opportunity for funding, and just with those couple of things that are happening. And then there's other things. That's what the new person's going to be doing, is trying to figure out some of the other grant sources. But anyway, I think that's some good news there. So when I started thinking about some of the things that we have to write, like, what did you do in the past year? So I was like, what did we do in the past year? It's so hard we did a concert series, but we really did more than that, so I talked about, we reorganized the management team. We haven't talked about this, but the town embarked on a wayfinding project, which that was also something that was flagged in that cultural district report, is signage for how do you get to the hall or the library. So we had a little bit of money left over from a downtown revitalization grant, and hired a consultant to design signs so they're all uniform and consistent. And they are in process of being put together now. So there'll be signs in the downtown that say, where's the parking, where's the amenities and stuff like that. So I included that in our list. That was started before this group reconvened. Shoveltown Brewery has a gorgeous mural on the side of the building. So just because we didn't do it doesn't mean that it isn't part of the district. And so we have to think in terms of that when we say, what have we done? The library put a sculpture out in front of it. That we didn't do that, but they did it, and it's cultural. So just trying to get everybody to kind of think along those lines of being aware of what the other organizations are doing, because we'll get credit for that. Because at the end of the year, when they say, what did you do in your district? It's not just that what we personally on this committee did, it's what everybody in the district did. And I also included the Performing Arts Center renovation. So that's a big part of the whole district, but not specific to this committee. So just for everybody to kind of keep their eyes. So I put down I'm just going to read a bunch of random notes of things that and I'll send this in an email. I was kind of working on it up to the last minute, but I put January, February, March, April, the whole year. And I want to try to fill in some ideas of things we might be able to do on the different months. Now, we're probably not going to be able to do something every single month, but and some, things cost money, but some things don't cost money that we could pair with another organization just to kind of keep our name in front. But I had written down about convening the stakeholders in October, that we talked about that, where to have it, whether we could have it at the NRT or maybe the Children's Museum, maybe the new Langwater building, we could have it at Shoveltown Brewery. So kind of be thinking about that. I was thinking about the historic tours. Ed Hands was doing another historic tour and highlighting that a little bit more in our district. They don't tell us when they do anything, and that's kind of a challenge. The Historic Society, Frank Menino retired. I got an email. I saw it on Facebook. Like, you know, we need to really try to think about that. And the historic walking tours, I was thinking, what happens when Ed goes? Like somebody else, not us, but maybe we should be thinking about trying to encourage a high school student or a young person to go on those tours with him and learn it a little bit, and like have more than one person that can do the tours. You know, I know Fred knows how to do them, but just brainstorming ideas. For the winter solstice, some places do things for that. Diwali is an Indian festival. I think, you know, the multicultural aspect of what we do, we should be thinking about. Diwali is in October, on October 24th. So that's late for us. We wouldn't be able to really do anything with that, but maybe like Pratima and Ram Penyumarthi are in the Indian culture. They might be doing something that we could help promote or kind of tag onto.
Could I, I don't know if anybody would be aware of whether the library is going to be doing their, and Shoveltown does it too, St. Patrick's Day stuff with music and, and all, being able to promote that. Both of them have done things.
Right.
Yeah, at Queeset House, it's been whiskey. I can't. Who has sponsored that? Was it the library itself, or did they bring in a partner?
Oh, you said whiskey. I thought you said risky. I was like, risque? What do you mean risky? Whiskey.
That was the library, and they had a bourbon tasting.
Yeah.
They had a whiskey tasting. Yeah, that's the
Right.
library itself. And, you know, Dottie, just back to the Historical Society, somebody might want to talk to Ariel, who is, you know, taken over for Frank. She's the one running the Historical Society now. So she should perhaps be learning the tour, or maybe their interns or something.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I don't know her. I didn't know that's who was taking it over, so you can put her on the list.
I'm trying to think of her last name. She's from Sharon. She is the new Frank, though. Ariel, I can't think of her last name.
I don't remember it either. I've never met her.
Then I have the Lions Winter Festival, maybe a food truck festival at the Trustees, because they're looking, you know, in the spring or something like that. The Legacy Festival. I know they said they wanted to do winter programming. I don't know that they'll be able to do something that quick, but what they were talking about was doing like fire pits for the kids when they were sledding. And, you know, like someone like Kyla Bennett, who's an environmentalist, she might want to do nature walks in the winter and look at, you know, bird feet in the snow, or I don't know what people do like that, but like keep that in mind if we know anybody that we could connect with the trustees. I'm talking low impact for us. Like we come up with the ideas and then we have other people do them and we kind of stay involved with it.
Dottie, David Wallace does tours, walks in the woods all the time. He puts them on Facebook and asks people if they want to join.
Okay.
Gary, what the heck is his name? From the Lions, Fradkin, right? Gary Fradkin?
Yeah.
He does walks over at Borderland all the time. But that's not the same thing. Sorry, that's out of the district.
Yeah, but we could have him talk with the trustees. Why couldn't he do it at the trustees?
Yeah.
Who are you talking about?
Gary Fradkin. He's a member of the Lions Club. He leads walks. Isn't it Gary Fradkin?
Yeah, I'd say it Fradkin.
Okay. Whatever.
Fradkin.
Yeah,
you probably know.
He used to have a column in the or would write regularly, if not weekly, for the Easton Journal.
Gary Fraden.
Fraden.
Yes, there you go. Thank you. But at any rate, so the Lions were a big part of the Legacy Festival, right?
They were a contributor. I don't know how big they
They
were.
were the
I know they
muscle.
did
They
all
were
the
the-
food, right? Were
Yeah,
they
they were the
muscle?
muscle. They were the muscle. They were the volunteers.
Yeah.
They got the tables, they set
Yeah.
everything up because, you know, we were we were a group of older women.
Yeah, we were like 5 people. Yeah, they
And
were the
they
muscle.
do the fishing tournament. What's it called? The
Yeah.
fishing derby there.
Yeah, yeah.
So.
Mark,
Legacy?
Not at Legacy, no.
No, but another event that they
Yeah,
do up
another
there.
day,
It just
yeah.
made me think of that when you said Lions and trustees.
Yeah.
so should we be planning for a Legacy Festival?
I think we should be thinking about that, because the money that's going to come up, the 15,000, I don't know that we'd use all 15 for that. I think we should spread the 15 out. But first we need to come up with this list of the events, and then
Yeah.
what we need to do, because grants will come up also, the Cultural Council has grants out right now. And so they get money from Mass Cultural, and that's for like $500, $1,000, $2,000 events. If we had an event, we could apply for that.
You gotta do it quick, the
As the
deadline's
district.
frozen.
Well, that's what I mean. So we don't have a thing yet, but that's why we need this list, so that we have a whole list. So when a grant comes up that's like, here's $2,000 or a sponsorship, we look and we go, oh, we can use that for this or that. Like, we're all ready to go with something that we have an idea of. Because it's hard to do it under the gun when it's like, oh God, that's due in 2 weeks. We don't have any plans. What are we going to do?
Right.
Another thing that's coming up that's big is the 300th anniversary, and the town is taking applications for volunteers to work on that 300th anniversary committee. So if somebody on this committee wants to be a part of that committee, they should apply by going to the website. I think it would be important to do that because the cultural district should be connected to the 300th anniversary somehow. So,
Yeah.
the most of the volunteers that have applied so far, it's not closed yet. I think we're looking for 9. I don't even know how many we have, but I know there's a lot of Lions members. So if somebody wants to do that, throw your hat in the ring. Another thing I was thinking about is Stonehill College, right? So Parents Weekend, when we have a huge captive audience of people that come here and they might stay for the day or they might stay overnight somewhere. What could we do to get them to come down to this area? Like, could we develop a package in advance that Stonehill could do, where the Farmer's Daughter and La Cucina have like some kind of specials, or the hall has an open house with food, or there's a tour where they can go to all these different places, and the brewery. Like, maybe even rent a trolley, work with Stonehill to rent a trolley that does scenic tours through this area. Like, who knows? I just think that that's a real opportunity to bring interest and money into the district that day. And Stonehill's great to work with. So I'm just throwing that out there as a blue sky idea, that we should have on our calendar just to think about as we start to get closer to that. The other thing that I think we're lacking in some of the things that we've done, I mean, we haven't done a ton of, but really focusing on other cultures. And I know that Raising Multicultural Kids is doing a lot of things, and maybe we could connect with them. They just did a book club. Sharon is doing a marketing campaign right now. I just saw a bunch of their things on Facebook. It was a grant award through the Office of Travel and Tourism. We could apply for something like that and do that for the cultural district. And I took screenshots of the ads for that, and I'll send that with this list. We've got the art exhibit with ECAT. How to maximize the art gallery. God love those people. They're there every Saturday. Now they're opening on Sundays, and I get a report every week that says one person came in and they didn't buy anything. Like, we really need to figure out how to jazz that up somehow. And I know you had some ideas about that, Suzanne. A community calendar. We also have the Discover Easton app that talks about the businesses and the assets in the town. How can we use that and maximize that to get people to go to the places that we want them to go to? So I have that down as something to talk about. I think there used to be a lantern tour. Wasn't there some kind
There's
of
a lantern festival.
a
that
lantern
went-
festival?
Yeah, that was with the cultural council many, many years ago. There was a parade, and I think it was kids' music or something. They had workshops. I know we hosted a couple of them at the museum. Kids came in and decorated a lantern, but the drawback to that was you had to go and make your lantern, and then take it home, and then remember to come back in 2 weeks to take part. You know, that was,
Yeah.
you didn't get a lot of people with the follow through, because that's asking a lot.
Okay. So I'm going to send this list out, and I just want everybody to just like send ideas. Let's just make a ginormous list, and next month, like, look at it, try to like flesh out some of the things that we could do, put them under certain months. And also to think beyond. I mean, music is great, but for, you know, art, music, poetry, reading, dance, performance, sculpture, I know Carolyn, you know, maybe that's where we spend the rest of the money, because I feel like that was around $10,000. So if we did the Legacy Festival and then the sculptures, I think we talked about doing that at the same time. That might
It was
be
supposed to kind of piggyback off of,
Yeah.
like, it was supposed to be
right.
the sculptures, and then that led into, you know, following on the heels of that was Legacy. To capitalize on the art part.
When
And,
would Legacy take place? I worked it.
It usually took place the end of
In
June.
June.
In June.
It was, so before the start of the music series.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
We weren't doing the music series when we did
Not the
Legacy.
last
At that time, okay.
Legacy, the music series took the place of Legacy due to the pandemic.
Okay. Mark, are you
Yeah.
still with us?
Yes.
There had been some chatter about the Legacy Festival. Was there within the Lions? Was there an interest on their part in participating in the future? Or I remember them talking about just, you know, how much work it was.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I would assume that there would be, but
I think, though, that the last time it ran, they said that the attendance was off, and they might have even lost money on it, and that might have soured them. I don't know. I might be making this up.
Yeah, but you know the Lions, they depends who you talk to, and if they change their mind all the time. It's like having a baby, right? You say you're never going to do it again, and then you forget and you have another one.
Yeah, but obviously, if we had a significant grant and maybe could use that for, I don't know, to supplement some of the things, the heavy lifting that they did, so that they didn't have as much responsibility, that we could, I don't know how they got the tables and all that stuff. If we could hire somebody to do that stuff with 15,000 rather than 75. If it didn't require quite as much manpower and output on their part, they might be willing to come back.
I think that that's probably the place that we should spend the most energy in thinking about. There's also other grants, right? So there's the grants that every other community got for their summer concert series was like $2,500. There's another whole grant just for summer concert series. Because if you've been around Massachusetts, every single town had a summer concert series. Stoughton did. I went to the one in Holbrook, West Bridgewater, like every place had Brockton, they all have them. So we don't have to think about using that 15,000 towards the concert series. We can get another grant for the concert series.
Where does the library get money for its concert series? Does that just come from the trustees?
I don't know. That's a good question to ask them though.
The library has a lot of money.
Mhm.
They have a lot of money. They have a big endowment that they use for that.
Is there
But
some
their
requirement-
concerts are only an hour at a time.
And they're not nearly as
Yeah, they're not,
heavily trafficked as ours.
no, and they have them for 1 hour. They have no food, no alcohol. Kind of different how they promote theirs than ours.
But they've had some good music over there because I can hear it. But at any rate, can we get somebody from the library on this committee? It just seems we're so close together. They do so many things. Their programming is quite.
This is a public meeting. Anybody can come to them. So what we
Yeah, but
did in the
beyond
beginning.
Can they be on the committee? Somebody from the library be on this group?
Well, the committee is filled now, so if somebody,
Oh, yes, it's full.
we would have to reorganize again. And when we did that the last time, we couldn't get anybody to show up. I think it's actually better to ask them to just come to the meetings than to, you know what I mean?
That's fine. Yeah, oh, that's fine. Yeah,
But I think when we talk to all of the stakeholders in the district, that's one of the things we should be saying is every month we're going to invite you to our meeting and we hope you'll come.
Right.
Because if the library in particular felt slighted because they didn't know the things that we were having a concert series, it's on them. If they want to know what we're doing, they need to come too. Like we,
Yeah.
you know, we can try to reach out to people, but we can't make people know what we're doing, right? So.
Right.
All right, Fred, are you frozen or are you still there? I think is that his screen?
I am here.
Do you want to give us an update on the hall?
I'm here. Yeah, right.
Has Fred been drinking?
I don't know.
Oh, everything's fine. We're still for November 1st. And I said, what's the laughter about? What?
You don't seem to be speaking at normal speed. You're very.
Did I say something wrong? What was it?
You sound like you're loaded, frankly.
It's the internet. It's the. Go
Anyway,
switch places with
just
John.
keep going.
Switch places
Yeah,
with John.
no, we're fine. We're good. We're good. Everything's good. I just lost you, Suzanne.
It's better.
No, I didn't.
Oh. Oh, well, listen, the guy at,
Just started to come in.
what do you call it now? The Governor Oliver place. That is, it's Colin McCollum Cook. is his name.
Wait a minute,
He comes
here we
from
go, here we
Arnold
go.
Arboretum. Yeah.
Hey, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm coming in.
Okay, let's try it again from the top. November 1st, opening day, be there, Oak Ames Hall. The new guy over at the governor's place is Colin McCollum Cook. And he comes from the Arnold Arboretum, and he seems like a very nice guy. And so I've met him a couple of times. So he'll work out fine. That's my take on it.
He's not the guy who took over from Vidya. He's the guy who took over for Dennis. He's the grounds
Yes, exactly.
person.
Yeah, I don't know anybody who took over from Vidya. I spoke with David, and he really hasn't heard anything back. And he's more the family contact person. But I got in touch with him, and it's really been nothing coming our way. So.
Yeah, I talked to the guy. I just can't remember his name. It's on a notebook that I have somewhere, and I'll let everybody know that person's name. But he is the guy, and he's really enthusiastic about working with the district.
That's great. That's great. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Can you provide an update on when that work is supposed to start? Because I thought they said it was going to be September.
Well, I'll finish up. I specifically asked my brother that question for tonight's meeting, and he said, at least at our end, he hadn't heard anything more. So.
Yeah, the guy that I had, he was just like, if you wanted me to start on something first, what would it be? And I said, the pavilion is like that. that had all the drawings. It looked like it was ready to go. And I understand that the architect passed away and they were trying to figure out how to get their self together too. But that's really like, that would be the first big step to do that. And then, you know, they were going to redo the carriage house to have some bathrooms and some kitchen facilities. And so he was going to dig into that a little. This guy had just like 15 minutes on the job, right? So he was trying to get all the information he could. He probably got off the phone with me and went, oh my God, because I gave him a lot of information from those meetings and everything.
Sure, well, that's what bothers me is there's been enough time has gone by since that guy died that they should have their act a little more together. So that does concern me. That's I don't know why they take so long. I guess they're a very complicated corporate structure, always people changing, moving around. So I've found that frustrating. You've probably experienced a little of it too, Dottie, you know?
Yeah.
And so I am concerned at the momentum. Maybe I'm wrong, and they, you know, maybe I don't know, but I don't really see that many signs of life or emotion from my end. So that concerns
well, I think part of the changes was on the trustee side too, with Vidya moving into her new position and then finding somebody to fill hers. But honestly, I really liked her, but we weren't reaching out to her, but she wasn't reaching out to us either. So I think it's really important for us to have that, you know, like I said, reconvening the interest in the stakeholders. If we split up, like who is going to be the contact? Who will be the person that talks to the Historical Society regularly out of our group? Who will be the person that talks to the Children's Museum regularly? And then we bring that information back.
Yeah, that's
Right. So we'll put that list together, you know, and, you know, there'll be a contact that talks regularly to the trustees. We'll figure out who that is. You know, that'll be part of the convening. So.
Good.
Because we might have to stay on top of them, Fred. You know, you're right. If we're calling every couple of weeks saying, "So, what's the status?" What's the status? They'll either stop taking our calls, or we might be a priority.
I think they went through training in that, Dottie. You know how not to get back. It's part of their corporate training. Anyway.
All right, so it's 7:02. That was, I think, all I had on here. The next meeting is October 27th.
So on October 23rd, with the open house at the art gallery, you said that was at 3?
It's from 12 to 4, but the actual ceremony for Carolyn is at 3.
Okay.
Oh, I know one thing I forgot to say that's in my notes here that I am skimming over. We got all the stuff out of Carolyn's house, all the totes and all the stuff. So it's all in the basement at Town Hall, locked up. So it was a lot of stuff. So I think I put in that packet the inventory of the things that are in there, just so that people know. So if we need that stuff for something, at least we know where it is. And then Kerry texted me last weekend and she was like, I found this clipboard and it's the diagram of the art gallery. It's information about the ECAT Art Gallery Festival, and it's got the diagram of where the artists were. Can you use that? And I'm like, I think she was listening, because all of a sudden that just came out of nowhere. So I have that too. So we'll be better prepared for that now. I haven't looked at it, but I have it.
Great. Okay.
All right. Anybody else? A lot of information.
No, tons of ideas that cultural council calls. That's a great idea.
Yeah, it's interesting because different parts of the state do things differently. Like Martha's Vineyard was on there and they were talking about what they do. And I think that one of the things when Carolyn and I used to go to those things, we always were doing way more than other districts. We were one of the first cultural districts. But even when I hear, sometimes when you're doing the stuff, it doesn't feel like it's that much. But then when you see what other people are doing, you're like, oh, we've done that before. Or like I think we've got some really good ideas of things to do, like carrying on some of the stuff that was already worked on like maybe the tea again, during the holidays, the sculptures. I'm, still really interested in that. The other thing that I just popped into my head, Joan, you should have mentioned this because you sent me the invitation to it. At the church, that group, Gregory Fernandez and his kids, he's a friend of mine, and they are incredible. If everybody's around that weekend, go see them, because they would be a great performer to put into something that we were doing.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, that's a fundraiser we're doing for Rose Conservatory. I can't say the word.
Conservatory.
Thank you. No, I thought it was, yeah, okay, I'll go with that.
Well, yeah, that's what it says. That's great.
So I'll put that in the follow-up notes too, because I think that they would be something. I've gone to a number of their things. I think they would be a real attraction. Maybe that would be something that we could apply for from the cultural district, is $2,000 to bring them to an event.
Yeah, great idea.
Right?
Yeah. Nice.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything else? All
Do
right.
we have any to-dos? Do we have any to-dos?
We're back.
Next meeting on the 27th.
Yeah.
October.
And I'll send out a recap of some of the things on here.
Okay.
All right. Well,
Great.
motion to adjourn.
So
Yes.
moved.
Suzanne, and second,
Second.
Right.
Joan. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. All right, everyone. Have a good night.
All
Good
right.
night.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.